and welcome everybody to Graphex new YouTube channel, where we'll be discussing company news, industry updates, answering questions you guys have. So if you have any questions, don't be afraid to send them over to us. And of course, we'll be introducing members of the team. So kicking us off today is Chief Strategy Officer, Mr. Dan Nye, also known as the EV guy. So Dan, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on board. I really appreciate it.
Of course, of course. So you're the first person to come on. So let's kick off by talking about yourself a little bit, right? So tell me what got you interested in the space and some of your background.
Yeah, for sure. So I've always been a scientist by training. So I studied engineering at university, both industrial and nuclear engineering. Then I started my career not in the boardroom, but in the wardroom. I was a nuclear submarine commander in the U.S. Navy.
Wow.
So I got really kind of practical experience operating super high-tech equipment and working with some of the kind of best sailors in the fleet. It was an amazing experience.
Wow.
But I transitioned from that to work in Silicon Valley, and I work with semiconductors in the capital equipment space. Then after that, I moved to Europe and at the start of the business school, where I continued to work in technology, predominantly as a hedge fund manager in the technology space. So throughout my career and throughout my experience as a fund manager, so I always kind of look for big themes. And when I look at big themes, especially big tech themes, you kind of break it down as to which companies will be successful and be pulled along and rise on those tides for big themes. So what's pretty interesting now is EV is an enormous theme. And this is almost, it feels to me, in my experience, almost as big as the internet was in the late 90s.
Okay.
It's really kind of, it's world changing, and what's kind of driving that is it's driven by climate change. It's driven by a unified government support across many countries who would never work together in the past. And as we look forward, we can see the internal combustion engine kind of really getting moved towards electrification. So
okay.
When I began looking at those at that particular theme, I kind of broke it down. And one of the most exciting aspects is a lithium-ion battery that actually produces the energy for these vehicles. And when you disaggregate that to its bits, one of the materials which has been overlooked by the general market is spherical graphite, which is the material that goes into the anode of the electric vehicle.
All right. So yeah, you have a breadth of experience there. You've kind of been all over the world and did a lot of traveling. And so you saw the vision, right? You're visionary looking at the future, and you saw EVs are the way to go. So then you kind of honed in on the kind of market you wanted. So then tell me, how'd you get involved with Graphex specifically?
Yeah, for sure. So as I was breaking down the sector, areas became apparent to me, and certainly the area of spherical graphite was particularly interesting. So I began digging into it, and I got to know the individuals involved, and Graphex actually came to the top as one of the only players in the spherical graphite market. Certainly certainly one of the only publicly traded players.
Okay, interesting. So yeah, so from there, how did you become the chief strategy officer of the company?
Well, it's interesting. When I first came across Graphex, it had fantastic profit, so fantastic products. It was traded in Hong Kong, had a small listing in the US, and so I thought they kind of needed a bit of. So in my opinion, I think they could have benefited from, a really clear story to tell to the markets, which actually I thought could be value added to the business.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So is that what you do? Tell me about what your role is there and like the bigger picture.
Bigger picture, it's so I work with the business to actually help it refine its strategy and make sure that strategy is communicated crisply and clearly to the markets.
Wonderful, Dan. Well, thank you for coming on. And on the next one, guys, we'll dive deeper into the company itself and really hash anything out. If there's anything you guys want answered about that, let us know. We'll make sure we answer that while we have the time. Dan, thank you so much for coming on.
Pleasure. Thank you.